What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. Today we're looking at the top 10 decks going into March in the Brilliant Stars format of the Pokemon trading card game. There are a lot of big tournaments coming up: Brisbane Regionals, Liverpool Regionals, Salt Lake City Regionals, and some online events as well. Check those out at play.limitlesstcg.com. I am running a tournament called Celio Stats number 3. $500 in the prize pool, free to enter. Links for that will be in the description down below. But we're looking at what I think the top 10 decks are right now with Brilliant Stars out. This week will be mostly opinion based with a little bit of results behind the choices. And as we go into week 2 and then eventually week 3, the list will almost be completely based, or it will be completely based on the statistics behind what decks are doing well. So this week will be opinion based. So let me know in the comments down below if you agree with my opinions on the top 10 decks or not. Before getting into it, though, shout out to my lovely sponsors, PotownStore.com, the best place to get PTCGO codes, and be sure to use code CELIO for 5% off, as well as 5% off at CardTrooperGames.com on physical Pokemon TCG product. Subscribe to the new Beast Coast Pokemon YouTube channel, and you can make your own Brilliant Stars deck lists and share them with the community at PokemonCard.io. So starting out at number 10, I have Jolteon VMAX. So, Jolteon VMAX, people are saying it's the end of times. Jolteon VMAX is gone because Manaphy has released in Brilliant Stars. That's just not how things work, and I think Jolteon VMAX is still a viable deck. Here is a list that hasn't really changed much at all for Brilliant Stars. An extra boss in there to more securely be able to bring up those Manaphys and knock them out. But Jolteon VMAX is still a good deck, and I have it at my number 10 this week. I think that might be one of my most controversial picks, so let me know what y'all think about that. Number 9, I have Single Strike Urshifu VMAX, Umbreon VMAX. Such a good deck, yet I have it at number 9 for this week, so the other decks must be pretty darn good. I think single prize Pokemon coming back into the game has definitely brought Single Strike Urshifu VMAX down a little bit. And with more cards coming onto the card pool, more decks are getting stronger. And Single Strike Urshifu VMAX is not all that overpowering anymore compared to what it used to seem like. Here is my own list for Single Strike Urshifu VMAX, just adding in Ultra Ball, adding in Choice Belt, and not really gaining too much else from the new set. If you're worried about things like Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX and Jolteon VMAX, you can put in a Manaphy, but I don't think Single Strike Urshifu players are really worried about those at this moment. Number 8 is going to be Suicune Ludicolo. I think Suicune Ludicolo is a really good deck. It does struggle against Duraludon VMAX, it struggles against Jolteon VMAX, it can sometimes struggle against single prizers, but it's really an all-around good deck. It's just not oppressively strong like a couple of decks are right now, in my opinion. Here is a list with the new Choice Belt from Brilliant Stars, and that's the only card added to this list here. I think you could argue to add 1 or 2 Ultra Balls to the deck as well. But the Choice Belt adding 30 damage to to Suicune's attacks, in addition to Ludicolo, I think is really, really strong for the deck and not to be underestimated. Number 7 is Rapid Strike Malamar. Rapid Strike Malamar gains a couple new things with the new set. It gains Cynthia's Ambition, and it gains Choice Belt if you choose to play it, and it also gains Manaphy. Now, Choice Belt I don't think should be played because it's not a Rapid Strike card, but there also is an argument to play it because it's a card you can play down prior to your Corinna's Focus and then get that extra card out of your hand and potentially draw into more Rapid Strike cards. So I've seen a couple lists toss in that Choice Belt, and I'm not sure which side of that theory I'm on. But Rapid Strike Malamar does definitely gain Cynthia and also Manaphy with the Bench Barrier ability. I think it's called Wave Veil, but I still call it Bench Barrier. But Rapid Strike Malamar can trade favorably with a lot of decks if it hits the right numbers. You know, you have to get 5, 6, 7, 8 Rapid Strike cards into your hand and then shuffle those in. And if you could do that, you could take some very impressive knockouts. I think the deck is quite strong, and Manaphy fixes some bad matchups that it had. At number 6, we have Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX. Now, I think Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX can be played with or without Arceus VSTAR. Do not have a strong opinion against either variant right now. I think they are both good, and number 6 is going to encompass all Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX variants at the moment. But here we have an Arceus V-Star variant. This one is playing Sharon's Care, which I think is definitely an option to have for the deck. After you attack with Arceus and the opponent hits into it, you can then Sharon's Care back to your hand. But this list is not playing Leon. I think Leon is going to be a very important card for Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX because Leon plus Choice Belt allows you to have so much aggression. It can hit 310 damage, and then that's without Inteleon pings. So I think that 310 damage is an important part, but I have shown my Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX list and lists for all these decks on the channel recently, so I definitely wanted to share some lists from the community and from some online tournament results. So that's why I'm not just showing mine, but I'm also critiquing these as we go. So Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, I think, is very strong. It doesn't have many awful matchups against the top decks, but it doesn't have many amazing matchups either, which is keeping it in the bottom half of the top 10 decks, but still very strong. At number 5, we have Gengar VMAX. So Gengar VMAX is at number 5 for me because it has a great matchup versus Mew VMAX, and it also has a winnable matchup versus Duraludon VMAX. And Arceus V-Star Duraludon VMAX, if you haven't been around the past couple days, it is on the map now. So that's an important matchup to have in your pocket. Here is a Gengar VMAX list. Playing that Manaphy to secure the matchups against Rapid Strike, Urshifu, and Jolteon. Also using Ultra Ball and Choice Belt. Choice Belt is a big one for this deck because it really boosts that damage output up just that little bit more that Gengar VMAX needed, in my opinion. At number 4, we have Arceus V-Star with the birds. That's going to be Galarian Moltres V and Galarian Zapdos V, and also Hoopa V. Let's give him some wings. He's a bird now, too. This is my personal list. I think the Eviltal with Cry of Destruction is very good against Mew. Hoopa is good to toss a single prizer out there and mess up the prize trade potentially a little bit. The thing that this deck suffers from, I think, is not having a bulky attacker. Now, it does have Arceus V-Star with 280, but it doesn't have anything at the 300 mark. And a lot of times you do want to attack with your birds and Hoopa V, and they have 200 HP or less. Hoopa V has 220. It does have to damage something by 30, and then Moltres V has 220, and it hits itself for 30. So Hoopa V being the bulkiest out of the three is still squishy compared to a lot of the attackers that we have in the format. And these Pokemon not being able to take a hit is what worries me about this archetype, but it does have great type coverage, hitting Dark, Psychic, and Fighting for weakness, also having special energy removal, having the option of a single prize Pokemon. I have talked in the past about potentially using toughness capes in this, but I don't think toughness capes really do enough since Moltres already damages itself, and Zapdos V is already at 200 HP, and Hoopa V isn't one of your main attackers. I'd say the two birds are your main attackers, and Hoopa V is also good. Hoopa V could possibly even come down to just having one in the deck, as Psychic Weak Pokemon like the Urshifus are being played less and less. At number 3, we have Hoopamolt. Hoopamolt Trace, Galarian Weezing, Baby Darkbox, whatever it is you want to call it. Now, I am not specifying whether these are the Hoopamolt decks with or without Galarian Weezing, because I think they are all great. Galarian Weezing, I think, gives you a little bit of a buffer. If you have a slow start, you could stick a Galarian Weezing out there, or sometimes you can just win because you put Galarian Weezing out there and it really stops your opponent from doing much of anything. Some lists choose not to play the Galarian Weezing for other techs. They play Fighting Energy and Galarian Zapdos V. They play an extra Hoopa, they play an extra Sableye, they play Galarian Moltres V. I meant Galarian Zapdos the first time, Galarian Moltres the second time. But I think all the variants are good. They're all the same deck in my eyes, just some of them have different tools to work with. Hoopa setting up that 90 damage so that then Moltres can knock it out if your opponent has taken enough prizes, or so that Sableye V can knock it out. Also, Hitting Dark Weakness is very, very good because Mew VMAX is the big boy of the format still. At number 2, we've got Duraludon Arceus. Riley Holbert won the Full Grip Games 150 plus person tournament this past weekend. That was a real life event. I think $2,000 were in the prize pool. He went undefeated with this exact list here. And I also have a video yesterday of me going over the deck and playing a bit with it. This deck is very, very good, guys. It's very good. Duraludon VMAX has 330 HP. With Big Charm, it has 360. There's not a lot that can knock out Duraludon VMAX in just one hit. It has no weakness, and it hits 220 damage and goes through all effects. It is just that good. Arceus VSTAR was exactly what it needed. Heck, Arceus V was almost what it needed because Arceus V can accelerate energy on the first turn to it with double turbo energy. So this deck is a force to be reckoned with, and it's at number 2 this week, but who knows, it could even be looking at that number 1 spot in weeks to come. We'll just have to see. And of course, y'all knew it, Mew VMAX is at number 1. Not much changes. It gets Ultra Ball, which is a huge buff to it, but deck-wise, it doesn't look like that much has changed. I think everybody's playing Oricorio now. Everybody's tossing in one double turbo. We got the one choice belt in there as well. This deck is bonkers. I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. It's the best deck right now. It's the metagame is kind of forming around it. But you know, the metagame could start forming around how do we beat Duraludon VMAX because this thing is so tanky. So we'll have to see where it all goes. And here's the final picture of my top 10 decks going into March 2022 in the Brilliant Stars format of the Pokemon trading card game. I hope you all enjoyed this video and let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for daily Pokemon TCG content. Check out the links in the description, join the Discord, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.